I'm Steve Kennedy. This is Music and Message. This is Always on Time. Making a masterpiece woven through time, a beautiful tapestry line upon line, rainbow so colorful it's light upon waters, stitches of sunlight dawning like offers of dawn, shining in sunset entwined, resting upon a blanket of promises, time out of mind, always on time. Crafted in faith, you'd give me the kingdom for just a belief and hope so fine. Wrapped in a cross, a blanket of promises, always on time. You're always on time. I needed the joy of bright reds and yellows, beautiful sunsets, the healing breeze, blue and the black were the darkest moments. Why not give them back whatever I'd please? I took all these colors for a masterpiece, resting upon a blanket of promises, time out of mind, always on time. Say, crafted in faith, you'd give me a kingdom for just a belief, hope so fine. Wrapped in a cross, a blanket of promises, always on time. You're always on time. Make me a quilt to cover my shame, mosaic of family wrapped in your name, to somehow recapture all that you wanted for me. Oh Jesus, creator of my everything. Make me a blanket of promises. Make me a blanket of promises, please. Time out of mind, always on time. Crafted in faith, you give me a kingdom for just a belief and hope so fine. Wrapped in a cross, a blanket of promises, always on time. You're always on time. Wrapped in a cross, a blanket of promises, always on time. You're always on time. So, a blanket of promises. My grandma, she used to make handmade quilts. She made us all quilts, covers that were a comfort on cold Indiana winter days and nights. I remember I had that tattered security blanket I called my mama cover, and I carried around with me everywhere. It was a comfort. It was comfortable, and I'd snuggle up in it, and just knowing that it was made just for me, out of love, was part of the comfort attached to it, of course. Then school came along, and they asked me to leave my security blanket at home, but I'd still sleep in it and take it over to grandma's. We went over to grandma's to catch the bus. And as a child, I noted, and as life has gone on, I know that people use other things as security blankets that they wrap themselves in and their families in. Now, sometimes it's a big house and a fancy car. Well, that wasn't us. We had a little pink house, literally a little pink house, like John Mellencamp said, the little pink house is for you and me. We literally had a 30-foot by 30-foot cubed cinder block pink house that we started off in, and like a sink to take a bath in. Small beginnings. So we didn't have all that. And then there were F-150 trucks around, and that local mechanic took care of all our cars. Other family security blankets seemed to be other things, What were they? Well, think about it. Some dads had or families had a beer when they came home, or some alcohol in the evening as a security blanket of some type. Some other families use other ways, other dependencies you can get into. They're not that healthy. Now, Grandpa, he loved me and took care of me, but he always had those Swisher Sweet cigars they were always around. About 5 or 6, I grabbed one of those cigars and I ran out to the barn with it. I had some matches, I think. I tried to light that thing on fire, and I had all this fire up here, and I dropped it, and I can't quite remember it, but the next thing that happened, I know that it hit those paintbrushes down there with the gasoline that keeps the paintbrushes, and boom, that thing went up, and my pant leg caught on fire. I rolled all the way. I knew this much to roll all the way to the fence, and I did. I rolled, and it put me out. But I turned around, and the barn was on fire. I think back, and everybody was just glad that I was alive, and that the barn got put out eventually. It did. It didn't burn the barn down. So we all grab unhealthy security blankets as life goes on, and I did too. The one stuck with me was that tobacco later on in life. It's funny, I didn't pick it up till like 28, and in life I picked it up later. Now, you nicotine users don't get offended. I'm just using this as a case in point. I was in midlife with a nicotine habit when I know that some of my adult and teenage kids were picking up that habit. I remember having more and more pain creeping into my back, and then I needed some pain pills and more caffeine to keep going. I was really feeling horribly tired. I was working too much at the time, and as a father of 10 children and grandchildren on the way and around, and I just got really, really sick, and I couldn't work anymore. I'd become rich in these habits, in my security blankets, okay? And when I tried to lay them down, it was next to impossible. In fact, it was impossible. I couldn't do it. I didn't have the power to go on, and I didn't have the power to do what I needed to do to go on. I couldn't take care of myself. I had to quit work and try to put things together. I found I was very sick, had a thyroid condition and a coronary blockage. Thyroid condition was such that beat my heart out of control, and the coronary blockage was such that I was getting angina, so I was dead. I was really getting my insurance policy together to take care of my wife and my kids all of a sudden, just out of nowhere. In other words, it's like I turned around and boom, my pant leg caught on fire, and I had to roll all the way to the fence, and I was on fire, and I had to get myself put out. But I turned around, and the barn was on fire. Now, what am I saying? I turned around, and my kids were smoking and doing, and I had nothing I could say to be a hypocrite to say, you guys stop that. And I'm a physician too. So and this is in younger midlife, but I couldn't say anything. It would have been, hypocritical. So I was on fire and the barn was on fire. All right. So it wasn't Grandpa's fault that I picked up tobacco. I'm not saying that is my choice, but no one does life completely right. Just think about what's in your family. Stop and think. What's your security blankets? When I received that gift of desperation, and I fell outside the house. I was off work, and all the kids in the house. I fell outside the house, and they're going through all their teenage angst and everything. But I fell out, and I went and got help. I didn't mess around. When it comes to game time, it's game time. And I had this gift of desperation. I got yes, I saw a good doctor. Yes, I started eating right. Yes, I cut down on tobacco. Yes, I started exercising as much as I could and went to a good specialist. But I fell on my knees. And when you're that sick, it's game time. There are no atheists in foxholes. And I asked God to please help me. And I'm the guy with pride. It's a significant amount of pride. Graduated 9th in medical school. And my first case that I went off and saw over at Riley Hospital, I was helping out with a kiddo with a 12-year-old girl with brain cancer. So there's a lot of pride up here, So I can do this myself. No, I couldn't. So it was really, I could not get to where I needed to go. I was powerless. I hit my knees and I was really serious. And I asked the God of my childhood, Jesus, please show up. Please, I've heard about you. I even got baptized. I need you now to show up. And when I did, I saw something with Jim Carrey not long ago. And he said, when the door opens up, you just walk right through. And the door opened up. The light shone down and the thunder roared. You think about Garth Brooks and the thunder, and thunder roars and thunder strikes. Okay, it did. And God just reached down and said, I am here. You've heard about me. I'm here. You're asking for me to show up and you're seeking me. And this time you're really looking for me and you're asking for me to show up and you're serious and it's time. It's game time. And I knew it was him. And I said, okay, I give my life to you. You come inside my life and work in me and through me and help me do the things that I need to do. And if I'm going to die, then let's get on with it. If that's your will, okay, this is rough. This is really rough. It was really difficult. But that wasn't God's will. He had grace and he had mercy. And I got brought back. The first year was extremely difficult, really difficult. It took some, I went to pastor every week. I went to 12-step meetings too, where guys were trying to do this. And I put down what God has his finger on. I put down the big things first, and then like a year later, I put down the nicotine second. And then I didn't stop. I really did put down nicotine. A lot of people just stop, but it's a stepwise process. You're supposed to they talk about steps, going back and making amends. The real amends is to put down the things you're addicted to and put down the wrong things that you're doing. And then you walk forward in doing the right thing, and then you lead. If everybody's leading. So, and you can't say anything being a hypocrite if you're still doing the same things. And family means everything, man. If you don't take care of family, do everything to take care of family, you abandon your kids, well, that's what it's time to step up. And with God's grace and his mercy, he can allow you to put down the things you need to put down stepwise. And he's merciful one way or another, and he's kinder than you ever can imagine. And he brought me back lovingly and mercifully. And no, it isn't a requirement to put down things to get into heaven. It is just good to do. And God is able and capable of getting you through those things when you're ready. I had good men in my life. My grandpa, one, and my other grandpa, Kennedy, he chewed to the day he died. And my grandpa Hastings, he smoked cigars, or almost to died, and he put it down at 70, and he died in the winter of 78. After he put it down, there is a price. There is a price. You know, we all did the communion. If you're into anything where you did communion, you had one piece of bread and drink of grape juice. The problem that I didn't get was I was drinking everybody else's drink and taking everybody else's bread. And there's a spiritual consequence for that when you're doing these things where it's nicotine or whatever. And that really hit my heart when I finally figured that out. And then I looked. These things cause cancer, disease, heart disease. And if I'm leading my kids into what sort of existence? All right. So I got busy. I found this. Guess what? Nobody does life completely right. As I realized all this and realized which way I was heading and which way I was leading, and everybody I've talked to, I don't care if they're a pastor, I don't care how well you've tried to do this life right, you wind up in this position thinking, I led in the wrong direction. All right, if you're there, well, you take this is what I did. I found nobody does life completely right. I didn't do it right. You won't do it right. I don't care who you think you are, how proud or how much education. Like I said, graduated 9th in medical school, best grades, well-paying job, worked at, okay, awards, whatever, wrote music and recorded, and it doesn't matter, man. Nobody does life completely right. I didn't, you won't either. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. From my childhood, I hear that echoing. Nobody does life completely right. There's one who did. In the person of Christ, who loved me and you. Hey, I'm square, but I know where the corners are. In the person of Christ, who loved us and died for us, and then was buried those 3 days, and then rose again. When I turned away from where I was going and turned towards him, the thunder roared. Everything came together, so to speak. I had the power. I was no longer powerless to put down what I needed to put down. And you're going to lose something. You're going to lose something when you go to Christ. And it's okay. You're going to gain the kingdom. That's the deal. I look at my situation as if the consequences from the use of tobacco was like catching on fire, and the process turning around was like the barn being on fire. Now the barn's going out. I look at my family, and as I'm leading forward, the barn is going out. The fire is going out. My family has looked at me, and it's been years now, and they say, okay, he's got something figured out. He's got this figured out. Dad knows what he's doing. And I just keep pointing towards Christ. I'm nothing. I mean, who in the world am I? I'm a guy from the sticks that happened to have a bit of that God-given brain that he wanted me to use anyway. I did just about everything I could do to try to blow that situation up. But he's loving and kind and merciful, and when he has a purpose for us, it's going to happen. And when he shows up, he's perfect on his timing. And he ain't messing. He's going to finish the good work that he started in you as a believer. Now, if you're not a believer, that's the thing. You need to be a believer. You need to turn towards him. Nobody does life completely right. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. There's somebody who did in the person of Christ. And he loved you and died for you and rose again. And that power of resurrection brings you back. It seems like now at this point, I realize we're joining that force, a Christ force, that Godhead. We're joining behind him and joining that force. And then as we die, we're promised that we're going to come back with him. We're going to come back with him and we're going to reign. All that has to be true. We don't know what it's going to be like on the other side, but man, I'm getting right behind him. I'm getting right behind him this time a lot. because it is the way, and it is the truth, and he is the life. So the gift of life is so precious and a huge responsibility for parents and families. God is loving and protective and kind. He will give you time to heal and make these amends and put down the things that you need. And he's kind one way or another, It's not a requirement to be, it's by grace you're saved by faith, not by works, unless you're going to boast about getting there, or putting something down to get into the kingdom. It's just really helpful to be able to have the power to put these things down and have a message, have a witness. And it's healthy too. As a physician, I can tell you, man, you get outside of these hurts, hang-ups, and addictions, your life is going to be a lot healthier. And his timing is perfect. He has made everything beautiful in his time. He has also set eternity in the human heart. Yet no one can fathom what God has done from the beginning to the end. Ecclesiastes 3:11. And in Isaiah 49:6, he says, "Thus saith the Lord, in the accepted time I have heard thee, and in the day of salvation have I helped thee. And I will preserve thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people, to establish the earth." See, I will give you as a covenant of the people, to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate heritages. In other words, he gives us a witness, and he'll give us strength. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. Isaiah 40, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. You might hear a lot of voices out there. The truth is Christ. And this freedom is freedom from the bondage of what you're doing. We will be, that's getting us in trouble. We will be perfected in heaven. No one does life completely right. You're not going to do it after you accept Christ completely right. No one's perfect here, but he can give you the power to free you. You're going to lose something when you go to Christ. You're going to gain the kingdom. Nowadays, I realize nobody has given up houses, land, sister, brother, father, mother, or wife, or whatever, for the sake of the kingdom, that won't get it back in this world and the world beyond. I look around nowadays, after I got back to work after this, my thyroid normalized, my heart opened up, it all got better. I had grace and mercy. Not everybody has mercy like this. I shared this message as I went back into work. It was accepted. 9 different pastors came in, and then all their congregation became my patients. This is the deal, man. Christ blesses people. He doesn't always, he isn't gonna, I'm a general practitioner, so I'm not making scats of money here. That's not the deal. It's not money. But I'm sharing the message, and each life that I impact is going to be somebody I help get in the kingdom, and it's about souls. It's about people. So I'm taking as many with me in the right way in Christ's name as I can. We're given talents, and God's wanting us to use the talents, and he'll reward us with those for what we've done, and given us an inheritance in heaven as we go forward. So I left that verse, no one's given up houses, lands, mother, father, sister, brother. I left to go training for medical school. I left my mom and dad and a crying girlfriend, and I was crying too, and I got a wife, and I got a new mother and father figures all the way along the way. And I left these things. I had to leave things. I had to leave habits to do it. You aren't going to get through medical school or any type of thing going off to get to leave some security blankets or work or whatever next step. You're going to be blessed in Christ's name as you go. All right? So that's what happened. I left the town. I got an entire town back with all of the same names somewhat replaced, plus some. And and so on. It just got blessed. I cannot describe to you what I see on this side of it. It's a mirror image of life from the earlier part of life. It's heaven. It's a bit of heaven that you start to see. I left my brother Mike and JP. When I was really sick, I went to the church and I needed some counsel. I needed to sit down with somebody. I sat down with a pastor named JP. I sat down with a man named Mike. And then so on. You know, they don't want to overthink this, but God wants his kingdom to make sense. So I left a Mike and a JP, and it just so happens when I really needed somebody up here up north, I sat down. God had somebody by the name of Mike and JP to sit down with, and they have been extremely helpful. And so on. I got a new. I left the would-be wife. I got a wife. I had to leave relationships that I would have continued along the way in the medical training. And now I've been given 6 daughters and 4 boys and 10 grandkids. And the whole deal is I've had all the things I've left behind, the people in particular, given back in this side of the kingdom. And thank God, it's obvious, it's so obvious that how much he loves us. And he wants to give us the kingdom. So his timing is always right. It's the wait that's the hard part. To all did receive him, to those believed in his name, he gave the right to become the children of God. That's what it means. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. And be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. You know, after you give your life to Christ, you'll see this kingdom. You'll start to see it. You'll start to see this side of the heaven. And you know that he'll never leave you or forsake you. And the wait is the hardest part. Waiting to get past what you have to get past. Is an inexhaustible protector. It gives us an eternal home. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shadow at your right hand. The Lord will protect you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over you, your comings and goings, now and forever. He not only has strength for today, but bright hope for your tomorrow. He has a heaven, and it's made up of this. My Father's house has many rooms. If this were not so, I would have told you. I'm going there to prepare a place for you. And if I go, I prepare a place for you, I will come back and take you with me. Also, that you may be where I am. And that's what I'm describing to you. You know the way to the place where I'm going. John 14:2. So God can give them a blanket of promise, give us a blanket of promises of forgiveness for wrongs done in life and a chance at a real lasting restoration. In that, you, me, and your family has the opportunity to turn and break the generational wrongs that are have been passed down to you and your children, to break that. That way they can truly rest and you can truly rest, knowing that everything has been done. You can rest knowing that everything has been done, that you lead in the right direction, looking for God to show up right on time, weaving a masterpiece within your family. He is always on time. Promises all time out of mind, always on time, crafted in faith. Give me a kingdom for just to believe and hope so fine, wrapped in a cross, a blanket of promises, always on time. You're always on time. Say resting upon that blanket of promises, time out of mind, always on time, crafted in faith. You give me a kingdom for just to believe and hope so fine, wrapped in a cross, blanket of promises, always on time, always on time. I'm Steve Kennedy, and this has been Music and Message. And this has been Always on Time. Have a wonderful and blessed week. Thank you for listening.